Good morning, dear all. This is Philip Tepper from eCLAY, Local Governments for Sustainability, and I would like to say a warm welcome to you all to this UrbanWINS webinar on the key question, how can urban metabolism lead to a circular economy and a more sustainable future for cities? We have already more than 30 attendees here. You can see this in the panel, and among them are also great key speakers in the field from the UrbanWINS consortium, but also from cities, and that's a real pleasure to have you on board here. This webinar is recorded, and we will have, I think it is 1.5 hours of time to listen to presentation, also to address questions from the audience. The format will be that we listen to presentations, and you will have the possibility to raise questions after each presentation. If you want to write down a question already during the presentation, do not hesitate to use the chat function or your pen and piece of paper to write it down. So with no further ado, I would just introduce you a bit to the background to this. That's basically the UrbanWINS project. This UrbanWINS project seeks to develop and test methods for designing and implementing eco-innovative strategic plans for waste prevention and management. It's an EU-funded 3-year project which began in June 2016. So actually we have our first 12 months of experience already there. And you can see in the slides with the graphic that it's something organically, something with metabolism in there. So that's also part of this first webinar of the project, to show you what is behind, what has this to do with circular economy, what has this to do with maybe the projects or ideas you're working on. Our approach, 3 key pillars. First of all, there's an in-depth analysis of the urban waste management strategies, done in 24 cities in 6 EU countries, Austria, Italy, Portugal, Romania, Spain, and Sweden. And this analysis is done on the urban metabolism approach. You will hear more about this later. The second main pillar is the participation of stakeholders in urban agoras, real and virtual ones. They are set up in the 8 pilot cities of the project. That is Cremona, Torino, and 2 cities part of the metropolitan city of Rome in Italy. That's Bucharest in Romania, Leiria in Portugal, and Manresa and Sabadell in Spain. The third main pillar of the project is the development and testing of the sustainability and innovation-related recommendations and instruments for waste prevention and management. So that's the last pillar, is really making use of the analysis and testing it out in practice. So, for instance, via procurement schemes. Who are we? We are a consortium of 27 partners representing cities, universities, technological centers, NGOs, European networks of cities, and so on. eCLAY is the local governments for sustainability, a city network here in charge of the communication aspects of the project. So also this webinar that we organize in cooperation with all the partners from the consortium. We have different kind of strengths and expertise that bring to the project, and it's a real nice mix from more scientific approaches to application-oriented approaches such as sustainable procurement. So that's our current agenda. We have lovely 4 speakers today that share their expertise with us. And we will start very soon with Leonardo Rosado from the University of Chalmers in Sweden. He is talking about what is urban metabolism and how do UrbanWINS cities plan to use the results of their urban metabolism analysis. So basically the core part, the first pillar, if you remember my slide before. Then afterwards, Line Brogard from the Technical and Environmental Administration of the City of Copenhagen will talk about urban metabolism for tourism in Copenhagen. So interesting connections there made. Introduction to the urban waste project and the waste management in the City of Copenhagen. This then leads to a bit of a break, so taking a step back and going back into the bird's eye perspective and asking ourselves, and now we have heard a lot about urban metabolism, but how does this relate to the buzzword of the year? It's circular economy. So what's circular economy about, and how does this link to everything heard before? My colleague Estela Grana will introduce you to this. And last but not least, Paul Moore from the Royal Haskoning DHV from the Netherlands will talk about the urban metabolism approach again, and will show you why this is a key step for circular cities. So, with no further ado, I just want to show you our website and hashtags, so please, if you're free to tweet about this webinar that is going on, use your account, let the world know that this is happening now. Join us also on Twitter, hashtag UrbanWINS, and Instagram and Facebook. I would now hand over the floor to Leonardo Rosado from the University of Chalmers. And Leonardo, I will give you the presentation rights now.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Thank you for your introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'll try to go through some discussion on the urban metabolism topic. Hopefully it will be clear enough. I'm not going too much into the details on the scientific aspects of it, but if you want to know more, you can ask me either in this during the webinar, or we can communicate via email or some other means. So please don't worry about it, and if you have questions that you would like me to address, let me know. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to present you today is my perspective on what urban metabolism is, and provide you some examples that we've been working on with the city of Gothenburg, so it is also more tangible and more applicable, so you also see the potential applications that can be done with this kind of approach. So what I would like to introduce first, what a possible definition of urban metabolism might mean. And to do that, what I also would like to draw your attention to is that cities are really complex systems, as you know. And as you can see, for example, in the image to your right, if we think of cities as ecosystems, then we will have lots of different actors, lots of different stakeholders, lots of different infrastructures, buildings and so on and so forth that need to be continuously working together for fulfilling all the functions that a city needs. So from that perspective, we can actually use the metaphor from nature and think about the cities as if they were living organisms or ecosystems. So, and that is of course then quietly or deeply connected to the different functions that need to be in place to fulfill the biologic needs of the population, the economic aspects, and so on and so forth. So that's the real metaphorical perspective. What I would like to just add as a third dimension is that we really need to understand cities' use of resources from a systemic perspective. So basically, what we need to understand is the full city in its whole, and then from there try to understand what we can do about it and how much our changes are actually affecting the system. So I would say that the systems perspective is quite important in this aspect. So just to go a bit further with the metaphors, and just also to provide you some ideas on this approach on urban metabolism. So cities can actually provide provide structural support for the occurrence of activities for the economy, for the well-being of the population, and so on and so forth. And again, this is something that needs to be studied. Another aspect, for example, is that Cities also provide us the external protection, what I put there as a concept. So the idea is that we again need to ensure that cities provide good conditions for life, that cities can provide opportunities for trade, that they provide also some kind of respiratory system, so we have pollutants and waste in check. So we need to have waste management and prevention strategies in place as well. But one real important aspect as well is that every city is different. Every city has their own socio-cultural and economic values as well. Different economic activities are in place, different characteristics. Sometimes they are part of larger metropolitan areas, sometimes they are standalone cities, sometimes they are the capital city of a country, sometimes they are the port, the hub for the trade of a country, and so on and so forth. And again, this might impact the needs that the city has in terms of their metabolism. So having said this, what I would like to address is really that we need to understand these cities, these complex systems, from the perspective of resource use, and therefore we need to start thinking of how can we optimize more and more all the energy and the material flows needed for a city. And using these ideas, then the first concept in the approach that needs to be really tackled and really understood is we need to understand and quantify what we are talking about. Okay, and from that perspective then, we've developed a model called Urban Metabolism Analyst method, which allows us to quantify all the material flow accounting indicators, so meaning that we can account the imports of products and goods and raw materials, what we consume, what we extract in the area, how much of these materials are going to the stock, how much is being produced in the city, how much do we export, how much we emit, how much waste we produce, and so on and so forth. And we try to do this, as I said, from a systems perspective. So we try to quantify all products and materials that are coming in and being accumulated and going out of the system with as much detail as possible. So the human model provides right now information on 1,000 product types, and then we can divide each product type into 28 material types. We can allocate the flows of these materials and products into the different economic activities, and then there's also a couple of other things that can be done with it. So basically, this is a very complex model that needs a lot of information to give and to provide an overview of the amounts in tons of materials that are flowing and stocking into the city. Coupled to that, what we are also been doing here at Chalmers, and which is also being applied to the city of Gothenburg, is that we not only quantify the tons of the flows, so the physical amounts that are flowing and stocking in the city, but we are also assigning different impacts to each of these products. So, for example, if you think about a vehicle, a car, the car will have impacts, environmental impacts while it's being produced, but it also will be having impacts while it's being used. In general terms, while in use, it will be a source for climate impact. So if we understand how much these products are impacting environment, then we can multiply the tons of the flows that we consume with these impacts, and we understand which are the most impactful products, what we call the hotspots for a city. So again, we've been developing these methods to allow us to have a systems perspective for the overall city, and then from there be able to start going to the next step, which is providing support, for example, for urban planning. And one of the things we've been currently supporting the city of Gothenburg with is, as I said before, so we try to identify, and we have identified which products will have the highest environmental impact based on their consumption, and from there try to start understanding if we can change the public procurement rules of the city to be able to consume less of this kind of products, or recover more of this, or sorry, not recover because we're talking about public procurement, but changing to other less harmful products, for example. This is one of the projects we've been working with. Another one is cities normally have plans for programs for climate mitigation, for example, and several of these have lots of strategies that are being put in place to try to solve the problem. For example, in Gothenburg, they want to reduce the emissions of CO2 per capita from 8 tons to 2 tons in the next 15 years. So basically, they need to come up with a very ambitious set of strategies that will help them get to their target. And with the human model, we can support them and give them a monitoring tool that will allow them to do that. So the way we've been working with the human model provides a lot of possibilities for supporting the definition and the creation of plans, but also further on and continuing with the monitoring and evaluation of scenarios for these plans. So that's one very broad aspect. The other aspect that can be done with the human model that we've also been working with is that we can support the creation of strategies for circular economy, and this can be done, for example, for an economic activity. So what the human model can provide is an overall information on the consumption of all the flows for different economic sectors. And the example you have here is for the construction sector, excluding the construction materials, because normally when you think about the construction sector, you think, okay, we're talking about concrete, we're talking about brick, we're talking about wood for buildings, we're talking about asphalt, aggregates, and so on and so forth. And that's also something that the human model provides, but also what the construction sector consumes can be machinery, vehicles, textiles for suits for the workers, helmets, and so on and so forth, and also brochures, leaflets, and so on and so forth. There is a wide range of products that are being consumed for this specific sector in this case. And what we can do here is that for each type of products that we're talking about, we can start identifying which would be the best strategies to achieve a circular economy. So for example, if you have printed books or newspapers and so on and so forth, you will have maybe the strategy would be to focus on recycling more of these things. If you have the intermediate group of products, which is gear and suits and all this type of products, maybe we should start thinking about extending the lifetime of them so we don't need to consume so much. And if we go to the machinery and vehicles, then another aspect that could be, well, interesting to introduce would be to outsource some of this, or to start to sharing a pool of resources that different companies could use whenever they need. So again, this is some of the support that can be done by looking at the results from the human model, and from there try to understand how much we could do with it. Another thing that we are also working with the city of Gothenburg is to try to understand where are the materials from in the city related to the building stock. So again, we try to understand the types of materials, where are they located, and when these buildings will need refurbishment. Another connected aspect is also that we can use the human model to identify opportunities for industrial symbiosis. And by industrial symbiosis, I mean being able to use the waste from a company or from a neighborhood as substitute raw material for a product. So what we also can do is map out the possibilities of which companies can be brought together to start creating this possible symbiosis. The example that's shown is also the utilization of CO2 emitted by industries to create new products. And this is being currently developed quite far, and we are looking to all of the types of wastes that are being produced in the region of Gothenburg, and from there select which ones are more important, and once we find them, then we can start understanding where could they substitute raw materials. So that's several of the things that we've been doing and using the human model as the baseline. Another part of the work that we do is also to go through more specific aspects of looking at what the city is already doing. What are the actors already doing in terms of waste exchanges? For example, what you can see in the picture is the beer production exchanges of wastes with the farmers and other companies. And from there, then we can also understand, okay, if we have some beer production units that are, and 6 of them, they're spent grain to farmers, why is not the other one doing it? And could it do it as well? So again, trying to look at possibilities to go towards circular economy, closing loops of exchanges of materials. So roughly and very, very broadly, what urban metabolism, the urban metabolism perspective and the way we've been working here at Chalmers allows is to provide a complete accounting of materials and support the definition of priorities for action, establish quantified monitoring schemes, and also identify potential strategies for circular economy. With that being said, what we are doing now in the UrbanWINS is supporting UrbanWINS to have this information in the near future. So far, as Philip mentioned, we have 8 pilot cities, and what we are doing is creating the possibility for the human model to be applied in these cities. And as I said, the model is quite complex. It needs a lot of data to be collected. So at this point, what we are doing is we're collecting data for 8 cities. We're trying to do it for 15 years of data. We're talking about more than 20 institutions involved, more than 10 data sets per city, and I'm being very conservative here. And some of these data sets will have more than 10,000 points of data. And of course, there will be a need for extrapolation and evaluation of results to make sure that we are having good idea on the system. So we expect to have the first results in September 2017. And from there, I guess we'll be able to share much more information with you for the specific pilot cities in the UrbanWINS project. So thank you, and we can stay in touch. This is also, as Philip shown you before, some of the contact information. And you also can contact me directly via email. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leonardo, for this really great introduction to the UMA model and all the background, why and how. I found it quite appealing also what you presented, and I'm looking forward to the first results. Maybe from my side, immediate question. I know you have very nice lakes in Sweden, so over summer it might be that you're occupying with all your data sets a nice lake with your laptop and working on this. Could you tell us maybe some first results, some sneak preview about what you have been calculating already, some one or the other interesting fact?
What do you mean in terms of the results in the UrbanWINS project, the pilot cities?
Yeah, the data, the last slide you had before.
Yeah, so what the human model needs to collect data to work is data on the imports of goods and products to the city, the exports as well, and for that there is a lot of different data sets that need to be taken into consideration. So for example, we need to understand what is the freight cargo that is coming in via trucks, and then also via rail and via ships and via airplane. We also need to understand how much products of agriculture are being produced. We need to understand how much minerals are we extracting from quarries and mines, for example, stone, sand, and so on and so forth. So what we've been doing now is that we've been collecting quite a lot of this information for all the 8 pilot cities. I would say that most of these data sets are already collected, but some of them which are quite key, which are related more to the transport data, is still lacking, and that's what we are putting our effort now.
Great, thank you very much, Leonardo, for this. I would like to quickly open the floor to the audience to raise any question for Leonardo on his presentation. Are there any questions? I do not see any immediate question on this, so I think then we can continue with our webinar. We may come back to this later at the very end if time allows. So thank you again, Leonardo, for your contribution so far. I would like to hand over and give the floor now to Line Brogard, who is basically working in the City Development Department of the City of Copenhagen. And she will share with us her expertise and presentation on the urban metabolism for tourism in Copenhagen. Line, I'm giving you the rights to present now. Just a second. Okay, you should have rights now.
You can see my screen?
I can hear you, yes.
And see my screen?
Not yet.
Ah,
now we can see it.
good. All right, so now it should be okay. So hello everybody. I'm very pleased to give this presentation on behalf of the Urban Waste project. Thank you to Leonardo and Philip for the presentation earlier. I can see now that this is really a sister project to your project. So I think with this, that it's good that we see each other. So this presentation is about urban metabolism for tourism in Copenhagen. And it will be an introduction to the Urban Waste project and also to the waste management in the city of Copenhagen. So the content of the presentation is first a short introduction to the project, then a bit about how we link urban metabolism to tourism, which is the focus of this project. And then something about the waste management strategy and planning in the city of Copenhagen. And then a bit about like what is going on and in this project, how far are we, and how do we learn from each other. So the project objectives is that the project aims at developing strategies for reducing the amount of municipal waste, as well as strategies to further develop reuse, recycling, collection, and better handling of waste. So very similar actually to the UrbanWINS as I understood. These strategies will facilitate the reintroduction of waste as a resource into the urban metabolism flows and address waste management, risk prevention, and as a integral part of the urban development. The project period is 3 years, and we started same time as you last year in June. Yes. The partners in this project are, we are 27 partners. Among these, we are 11 cities, where we have the pilot cases, so 11 pilot cases. Some of them are regions, I should say, cities and regions, as you can see them here in the map. And then among the partners, we have different research institutes as well as universities, giving the input from the research into the project, which is very valuable. So the urban metabolism in tourism, you all saw the different figures showing how urban metabolism, I think the figure from the UrbanWINS project is really nice with the energy, food, and waste goods coming into the city and the city spitting out something.
Lina, can you hear us? We have problem hearing you with the microphone. We can't hear you very well. Can you optimize the audio, please?
Is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll continue then. So this urban metabolism is, as most of you know, that we have some goods and energy, food, water coming into the city and the citizens. And then you have emissions, organic waste, wastewater, and loss of resources going out from the cities. The issue that we address in the Urban Waste project is that we know that many of the cities, and especially the cities within this project, they have maybe the double amount of inhabitants during peak season because of all the tourists coming into the city. And they increase the need for these goods and energy and so on going into the city. So so what can we do about that? That is what we want to look into. This is an extract of the survey we did as one of the first things in the project. And in each city, around 100 people were asked. It was tourist workers, and also waste management workers that were asked how do they think tourism influences the waste production in their city. And as you can see, the red bars is that people think that it influences it significantly, and the blue is moderately. So without having any numbers, people feel that tourism is something that is important and something that could be done something about in relation to waste production. I'm going to say a little bit more about the surveys later, but first I'll just say that so we want to link this urban metabolism to the circular economy, and we want to make this yellow dot with the emissions, the organic waste, the wastewater and loss of resources as small as possible. We want to make the cities more sustainable, and we want to close the loop, though we know it's not impossible to close it completely, but we want to get as many resources through the waste management system, or maybe not even through the waste management system, but just directly back into the loop. What is needed to go this way is to use waste prevention and go for waste prevention, better collection and handling of the waste if it becomes waste, and more recycling. Another extract from some of the results from our surveys was that what is important for people when they choose a hotel or accommodation in the city where they're going for holidays. And what you see here is that location and price is still like really high on the list, and environmental awareness, which is the lower one, is not so important for people when they're thinking about going on holidays. So the wish for this project is also that the cities will become more sustainable, and that the tourist business will be more sustainable, so that tourists can also think more about this and actually choose maybe a better hotel that actually recycled the waste, for example. An example of this is that there was a guide book just published for being a sustainable tourist in Paris. So I hope that this will be something we'll see more of in the future. Then a bit about the waste management planning in Copenhagen and the link to urban metabolism. This picture shows the harbor bath in Copenhagen. This is a place where people can go to have a swim in the harbor during summer, also actually during winter if they're real Vikings. But this is the reason why you can go swim in the harbor is because the water is clean, and it's measured every day to make sure that it stays clean. And the City of Copenhagen is working a lot to keep it this way, and to make sure that the water is clean so people can go have a swim and we can have a good environment around the city. Two slides about the resource and waste management plan that we do in Copenhagen. We have one at the moment until 2018, we look from 2013 to 18, and the next one we're already working on that with my colleagues. Will be from 2019 to 24. So the principles of this waste management plan, resource and waste management plan, is that waste is a resource. We want to change from incineration to more recycling, though we have a very efficient, maybe you know of it, we have one of the most efficient incineration plants in Copenhagen, because we do use the heat, the district heating, and we also produce electricity from incineration. On top of that, we have one of the world's most efficient flue gas cleaning systems in this incinerator. Other principles in the plan is that the local level can really make a difference. We work a lot with citizens and local environmental organizations. Every step of the waste hierarchy is important to note, and focus on resource efficiency and green growth is part of the plan. The targets are that we want to reduce waste going to incineration by 20%, and 45% of the household waste should be recycled in 2018. The budget is around 40 million euros. So these boxes here shows the main topics of this resource and waste management plan. And we have the topics are less waste, so waste prevention, better source separation by citizens and businesses. The bins you saw before is from a household in Copenhagen. So this is like a single family house. They have these 5 bins and also one for hazardous waste. So it's actually 6 bins. But it's just to show that the households in Copenhagen, they're really sorting a lot of waste. And they have done it for many years, and they're sorting more and more. So that's really good. They have a long history for that. But we can do better. So this is also part of the plan. More efficient and environmental friendly waste collection is also one of the topics. And then better waste treatment is the last one. For each of these topics, we have a flagship project. I'm not going to go into this, but let me know if you want to know more. There's also a link to the plan. And in total, under these 4 topics, there are 39 initiatives that me and my colleagues are working on. Yeah, so it's a big plan, and there's a lot of work to do, but we're doing better. So it's good. As I said before, many of these initiatives, we're working together with the citizens of Copenhagen and local environmental groups. And to be able to do better and make the citizens, for example, sort more of the waste, you need to know what they think they can do to change behavior. This is also part of the UrbanWINS project, and this is an extract of some of the results from the surveys. And here you see that people think that if they feel that other people are doing better than themselves, they are more willing to change the behavior and maybe sort more of their waste or be more sustainable. Clear information both on how to do it, but also the consequences of the actions is important. So this is interesting to use further on in the project. So the goals for Copenhagen and the UrbanWINS project is, of course, to have a cleaner city. We want to prevent waste from tourism activities, and we want more waste than police action. The first activities we've done this first year was the surveys that already saw some of the extract of results. They were done among tourists, the waste workers, the tourism workers, on different issues on waste management. Then the universities that are partners, they started collecting data about both like the amount of waste and the number of tourists coming in, what kind of tourists. For example, we have several cities with cruise ships. That's a big part of our tourists coming. And also the waste management in the city, how is it done in the different cities. For example, in Denmark we have a refund system for beverage packaging. So if you buy a bottle of Coke, you pay a deposit for the bottle, but you can get it back when you hand in the bottle. That is special for the Danish system. Then we also did the focus groups interviews with the same group of, not the same group, but the same type of people, so tourist workers and so on. This was to find out like what are the issues in the cities, in these 11 cities. Where do people see that we have problems with waste, and do they even have ideas already that how to solve it that we could take? The last thing that we just started in the project is on the cities is brainstorming about measures to implement. Talking about the measures, this is just an example that very often when you talk about waste from tourism, people say, no, but what about just waste sorting in hotel rooms? And this is an example of if you wanted to sort the waste in hotel rooms, maybe you should first know what is the amount of waste actually coming from the rooms. Would it be better to look into the kitchen and avoid the food waste coming from the kitchen? That would possibly have a higher environmental impact than the waste from the rooms. This is an example from a hotel in Hong Kong where they have to look into the waste composition of from the hotel rooms, and it's newspapers, original soap, pad slippers, laundry bags, and plastic toiletries. And looking at these fractions, you can already see, okay, there could be different prevention measures to look into. Online newspapers, liquid soap dispensers, nice slippers to bring home as a souvenir instead of just throwing them, reusable laundry bags and toiletries on demand instead of just giving everything and then maybe for people. So this is just to say, when looking into measures, you need to know something about the amount of waste that you want to do something about. Is it actually an amount that is worth doing something about? And also the waste composition. What kind of waste are we actually looking at? Here is just a list of some of the first ideas that we had for Copenhagen. The same was done in the other 10 cities. What is relevant for the city to look into, and what should we start with on from this project? Well, I'm not going to read all of them out because we don't have so much time, but for example, it could be nurturing activities to prevent food waste from buffets in hotels. It could also be advertising for the tap water. We have really good tap water coming from groundwater in Denmark. Also, we're doing some tests in Copenhagen to the website here. I just wanted to show you some of the activities that we have already at the moment in Copenhagen. During summer, there's a lot of focus on collection of waste in the streets and parks because when the sun is out, people are out. So the one to the left is a bin that was developed made for people who are in party zones. So they're out partying at night and they want to eat pizza when they have had too many beers. And this pizza tray does fit into the normal bins that we have. So in these party zones, we put up special bins. And the thing is also they should have a color that can be seen at night. So this one is white on the side, so it can be found by the drunk people. Another thing is that we hand out pocket ashtrays and bags for waste for people to have a place to put the cigarette butts. The example to the right is a big cigarette butt that we put on top of the bin to tell people that it's okay when it's not lit anymore, the cigarette, it's okay to put it inside the bin because we have a lot of problems with cigarette butts in the street. So that is some of the activities going on. Last thing I want to say is a bit about this thing about working a lot of cities together is amazing. We had a visit last month from Kavala in Greece, and it turned out that they are actually going to do some recycling stations in the city and region. So we showed them how we do that in Denmark. We have a long history for recycling stations. They're collecting around 35 fractions in each station. And they were very interested in both the history of doing these recycling stations, but also how they run and so on. So that was very nice. We could show them that, and we will go to Lisbon when we will have a meeting next, so we can find that. And they have, we can learn from them about biowaste treatment, and they have NGOs redistributing surplus food, and also sensors in the waste bins that we don't use that much in Copenhagen. So that would be very interesting to learn from. Last thing is just an invitation for our annual conference on climate solutions in August, and you can read more about it on the webpage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Line, for this interesting presentation about the activities taking place not only in Copenhagen, but also being here available for your European sister project, I might call it, also to UrbanWINS. I particularly liked very much the last slide that you presented, where you had the visit from Greece there and basically exchanging on practices, and maybe learning also new perspective, some new aspects. In UrbanWINS, in the project, we are also having a city match scheme where we basically connect cities with each other. So there's also an open invite to take a look at our website. Maybe there's one or the other future possibility also for cooperation, or for the audience also, if you would like to change on this, UrbanWINS also allows for a city match scheme. So again, I would like to open the floor to everybody. Thinking about, do I have a question for Lina at this very moment, and to raise it now. Okay, I hear a question coming in the chat from Fritz Hinterberger. He says, once the data of the cities were collected, how did you continue to work with them, e.g. in models? I think that this is a question not for Copenhagen. I just realized this is a question for Leonardo.
Okay. I can say to that it's Boku University in Vienna in UrbanWINS working on this, and they will do LCA comparison as well. But actually they're first trying to gather all the data. I guess it's going to be kind of the same in the UrbanWINS, that you need to know what kind of data you have before you can actually see what is possible to model with the LCA to do comparison. But yeah, it's a good question for the UrbanWINS. I would like to hear the answer as well.
Thanks a lot for answering this already. This was addressed definitely to you. Fritz, if you would like to talk about this, you can also unmute yourself. Or is this question clarified for you, Fritz? So that seems to be the case. And I thank you very much again, Lina, for your contribution and presentation. And I would move on and just introduce Estella Grana, my colleague from ICLEI, and I give you presentation rights to make a connection to the circular procurement and economy aspects of UrbanWINS.
Hi, Philip. Thanks a lot. I've been asked today to try to give a simple answer to the question, what's a circular economy about? And we have heard in the previous presentations from Leonardo and from Lina about urban metabolism and about how cities import and transform resources and how they deal with the waste. And of course, we understand that this is an issue for cities and they should be made more efficient and more effective if we want to solve the problems. But because, well, we're also talking all the time in the webinar as well, that this will contribute somehow to achieve a circular economy. I would like now to take a step back from the issue of urban metabolism and look at it from a broader perspective, from the perspective of a circular economy, where urban metabolism plays a very important role. So if we look at the concept, it actually comes as a response against our current production and consumption model. Yes?
We don't see the presentation.
Oh, come on.
Estella, we see the presentation. Please press just F5 to make it full screen.
Okay. Sorry for this. I hope that you can all see it now and that we can go back to the topic of circular economy. So what I was saying, it's that the model of circular economy, which has led also to other tools like urban metabolism, as Leonardo was explaining, is a response against our current production and consumption model, which is right now spread almost all over the world, and it's considered to be a linear model, what some call a cradle-to-grave design paradigm. That means that ever since the Industrial Revolution, when the economic development was really fast and it brought a lot of very fast growth and the production, mass production of products and the possibility of improving our living conditions, it also brought at the same time a huge amount of waste that citizens, what cities, countries were not used to seeing before. So it was a problem, and it still is, because in all the centers before, there had not been a model to deal with this waste. And what we did, and what the Industrial Revolution is, and what we all do still, is we take the natural resources, we transform them, we make products with them, and then we use them for a while, and when we stop using them or the product doesn't really serve to our purpose anymore, we throw them away, and it becomes waste. So this is really the system we have right now, and as a response for that, we have been hearing, because, well, how to deal with this waste, we have been hearing a lot the 3R rule: reduce, reuse, and recycled, which, well, it tends to make us be more conscious about the topic, and first try to reduce the amount of waste that we generate where possible. Second, try to reuse products that we already have bought and that we are using. It could be for means of repairing them, refurbishing them, and just not throwing them away at the first sign of old age or not 100% well functioning. And the third would be recycled, which, well, we know it's use the parts that can be reused, recover the raw materials if we can, and so forth. So we have been hearing this a lot, and we have been applying these rules with more or less success. But these 3 rules don't really address the main problems of waste generation. Just slows the production of waste. It means, okay, if you reduce the waste you generate, if you reuse the item as much as you can, and then you recycle the parts you can, this product is going to end up in the waste stream anyway. It will just need longer to end there. So it's a good way of slowing the process, of giving us more time to react, but it doesn't really address the problem. So that's when the concept of a circular economy pops in. And if we want to define it, I like very much the definition of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which says a circular economy is one that is restorative and regenerative by design, and which aims to keep products, components, and materials at their highest utility and value at all times. We're going to go through the different aspects of the definition a little bit more in detail, but I would like to you to pay attention to these 2 aspects. One is the concept of restorative and regenerative by design. We know that during the lifetime of a product, from the moment we extract the raw material, through all the transformation, all the use phase, even the supply chain from the producer to the consumer, and until the product actually arrives in the waste flow, there are many aspects that can influence the impact that this product actually has. The impact that it has in the environment, in society, in our health, in our living standards, and so forth. So what this definition really includes and says is that no matter what part of the product life cycle we look at, the product has to be designed, and all the phases have to be designed in a way that this impact that it's going to have, it's positive. As it says, it's restorative and regenerative. That is the first aspect that I really like about this definition, comparing to other definitions of sustainable products. And the second is that it says to keep components, products, and materials at their highest utility and value at all times. This means that not only we have to design products and services that have a positive impact, but when we do it, we should think of how this product could be maximized, the use of this product, and even after the product lifetime, how can we make sure that all the components and all the materials are still in good shape to be reused so they don't end up in the waste streams. So this is a very different way of taking into consideration product design, because until now, well, what we've seen is designers, when they start to design a new product that ends up in our houses or in whatever services that we need, designers think, if at all, on how to make products that have no negative impact. No negative impact in the environment, in health, in the way resources such as energy and water are used, and so forth. No? Or even how to have a reduced negative impact. That's what many people are currently looking at right now. So they know their products have a negative impact, so they look at how to reduce this negative impact. But what this definition says is, stop it. Don't look at reducing the negative impact. Look at how to produce a positive impact. And to do that, you just have to start from the beginning and change the whole design process. And it might sound very idealistic, but we do have the technology in many cases to apply this change and to start delivering a positive impact. This has happened. It's happening more and more. So I think it's worth having in mind. This is what we should aim to arrive and to achieve, and not nothing else. We shouldn't really accept something else. And well, if we look about how can we do this possible, the studies say, well, there are two cycles that we can look at. One is the biological cycle, which includes mainly the biomass and the metabolism, and one is the technical cycle, which includes all the industrial mass. Both masses constitute flows of biological and technological nutrients. What does that mean? Well, we've seen that also in the presentation from Leonardo. If we look at the biological cycle, we have products, for instance, food products that come from nature that we can grow, we can use, eat, or use somehow, and then they end up in a waste stream that, when it's appropriately managed, it will turn into compost, and it will finally be the nutrient of new crops. So this is the biological cycle. This does not only apply to food, it could apply to biofuels, it could apply to some textiles, it could apply to furniture, everything that's made from 100% biological nutrients or from biomass. And then we have the technical cycle. And the technical cycle, it's more artificial, and it includes all the products that we use that contain a number of non-renewable materials. They could contain metals or critical raw materials, or anything that we are using right now and we can't really put back into the biological cycle. So for this, of course, we don't have the same solutions. We can't make compost out of computers, but what we could do is, okay, if we look at how computers work, how can we make sure that all the raw materials that are in them get back to the industrial cycle, to the technical cycle? How can we disassemble computers in a way that materials do not get damaged? There is a few, well, many theories about this, and people are starting to do this, but this is still far to be a reality right now. Where it is a reality, for instance, and that we see, it's, for instance, the case of washing machines. It's happening more and more that instead of you just buy a washing machine, you can have it, for instance, leased from a company. That means you use it during 5 years, and after a period of these 5 years, you give it back to the company. For this, if the price is good and if the leasing conditions are good, which usually are, what you can make sure is that this company will get all the materials that they need and put it back into new washing machines. So in this way, we are ensuring that the materials stay in the technical cycle. Also, if the company knows that it's going to get the product back, probably it won't have issues spending more money in more quality items. So if they use better materials, then it's also no more likely that the product will be long-lasting, and it will arrive back at the technical cycle. So these two cycles, I think, are the key of the circular economy. Having a look, thinking, what can we do to make the nutrients go back to this metabolism, and it's a never-ending cycle. I like a lot the sentence from William McDonough, who said, it's not about being less bad, but more good. So it's not really about being less damaging the environment, having a reduced impact in the environment. It's not about being energy efficient, because you're still consuming energy from non-renewable sources. It's about thinking how can my building be energy positive? How can it create more energy that it consumes? Or how can it create a positive impact in the environment? So I think that's the main question of the circular economy. I hope you got the main ideas. You might think that it's quite idealistic and it can't really be applied right now in reality, but the truth is there are many opportunities and many stages where we can start to work right now and where people are starting to work right now. I have covered here a few from them, from the vision of the organization BRAP. And it could be, for instance, things like, okay, if you're working in product design, design better products with extended lifetime, etc. But if you reduce the manufacturing wastage, you can look at the supply chain and say, where can I reduce waste, and which kind of systems or business models can I use to reduce waste? If you are a consumer, you can also reduce waste, and we know that. We know as consumers that all cities are having right now very good programs to get more higher recycled targets, and not everyone is cooperating with this. The question will be, why are they not cooperating? They're not getting the message. How can they get the message? How can I, as a citizen, contribute to this? Also, we could improve our waste collection systems. We can develop the market for waste. For instance, it's I know what we said about compost. It's very good, but what's happening in many places is even though they collect the bio-waste and they treat it, when they turn it into compost, they haven't really developed a market for that. That means there is no way of selling that compost, so it makes actually no sense to create that compost. So it's a very important thing to look at how can I develop the market for end waste. So there are many things that we can actually do. I have copied here a few of the sectors, what we could do, for instance, in food, okay, to reduce waste prevention. That means, I don't know, a city could look, or a public canteen could look at how big the portions are. Is it a lot left from these portions, or many other approaches. Or we could look at waste transformation. What's happening with this compost? Is it actually being composted, the bio-waste? Is it being properly separated? So it's a lot of things that we can look at in every sector, and depending on your area of expertise, it's just about starting to ask the right questions. If we look, for instance, in construction, we would have also some questions like how can we use secondary materials? This is not always easy right now with some national regulations, but in some cases we are allowed to use, for instance, old concrete from demolition sites. Are we doing this? Why not? All the barriers that we're looking at, how can we solve them? How can we create positive buildings or energy neutral buildings right now, and then step 2 would be positive buildings. Are they including closed water systems? So there are many questions, probably you know that better than me, but it's not that it's impossible to approach each of the sectors. Even if we look at electronics, there are a lot of programs going on how to extend the lifetime of products and how to design for disassembly, so it's easier to get the raw materials from the products back. So I don't want to extend myself so much because of the technical problems, I'm already a little late. But there are, if you are interested, I've copied a few examples there that you can have a look at. The links are there in the slides. You could have a look at what's happening out there, who is doing what, and what are the benefits of this. And just almost finalizing, I think, well, I put it already in the presentation, but as a summary, I think having this concept of a circular economy, which can be achieved in a very high part by urban metabolism, but also about other concepts such as product design, etc. Well, the good thing is it's every sector of the society sees benefits on this. There is so far no a major opponent to this. No one has found like really, really big reasons to oppose to this concept. For instance, markets, when they find that if they recover the materials, if they can recover the products, they can lower production costs, or they can have a more stable demand. Because if I know you're going to bring back your washing machine in 5 years, I will offer you a discount for that, and then I know in 5 years we'll buy another one. So I can plan my demand, which is very good for the private sector. For end users, well, you get as end user a better quality product, and probably you have lower costs because there is no waste, and waste, of course, has a cost. For the society, of course, we would have many good benefits, such as reducing waste, or even reducing energy demand, or importing resources that are scarce and expensive. And for the environment, of course, we would have a lot of positive impacts. We wouldn't talk anymore about how to reduce the negative impact. I think that's it from my side. I just want to encourage you, if you are working in a city, or if you're a citizen, I would like to encourage you to go to these urban agoras. Philip mentioned that at the beginning of the presentation. There are already 8 of them for the pilot cities. If you happen to be in one of these pilot cities, go to these urban agoras, start discussion, start exchange. This is the best way to get started, and I hope that it benefits you also to get more inspiration, more ideas, but definitely will benefit cities working on the topic to hear your perspective. That's all from my side, Philip. I'm going to stop
Thank you
sharing
very
my
much, Estela here. Great, thanks
screen.
for this, making the connection to the circular economy and circular procurement, and providing also the examples. I got a question on the chat about the materials. We will make all material available on the UrbanWINS.eu website. This is also recorded, and you should find also there the recording hopefully sooner than later. I would like to, as always, open the floor for questions for Estela Grana from ICLEI about her presentation. Do you have any questions?
Yes, hello. This is Haraksaru from Eunomia. I had a question for Estela. Thank you, Estela, for the presentation. I was wondering whether you have looked into e-commerce market trends and, for example, looking at the electronic and electrical equipment, the online sales in the EU are currently growing by over 18%, and that was a trend from 2014 to 2015. And one of the issues Eunomia has investigated further was looking at how the EPR schemes, extended producer responsibility schemes, are applied within e-commerce and with online sales. So I know you mentioned some of the electronics and how important it is on the eco-design and the whole life cycle of products, obviously materials, products, waste. So my question is more about the more newly technological advanced types of platforms, and for example we know Amazon, etc., and whether any sort of further investigation and how cities could actually respond to the new trend of online sales, since the electrical and electronic equipment are not necessarily registered when they're bought online.
Hi, thanks for your question. I don't really understand the perspective. I know some of the bigger sailors online, such as Amazon, have included or have started to include now second-hand electronics. So of course I will be looking only at the extending the lifetime of the products. But we have got, for instance, from other producers, we were approached not so far ago from a computer producer that was actually looking at leasing computers to society and through an online platform, and getting them back and refurbishing them. They had a business model, they had studied, so I think this is, even online, it's slowly taking off. Of course, there is such a huge demand, and we're still very far in this concern to become circular in any way, and that's clear. But I do think it's taking off in some markets with some of the programs that are actually going on. I know, for instance, RAP has worked a lot on this field, also with Amazon directly, and other big providers. So I could put you in contact with the person which is in charge of that. He probably can give you even more information about this and about the new trends.
Yes, thank you. We're currently working on a project, so yes, that will be quite interesting. I guess it was more on the fact that there's still quite a significant online free rider issue, and that has been sort of diagnosed at 10% in the market, the electrical equipment market, and exactly as you said, it's a matter of this being diagnosed and tackled, and it would depend on the country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much also for your question and the answers. Are there further question and answers to Estella? This does not seem to be the case. Thanks again, Estella, and to all of you for contributing and listening to this. We come to our last presentation. It's from Paul Mull from the Netherlands. He is working there as sustainability consultant for Royal Haskoning DHY. He will talk about the urban metabolism as a key step for circular cities. I think this topic and this presentation will round up this webinar very nicely. Paul, the floor is yours.
Thank you all. My name is Paul Mull, working at an engineering and consulting firm called Royal Haskoning DHV. It's one of the larger firms in the Netherlands with about 7,000 employees and working worldwide. Is my screen already shared?
Yes, we can see everything.
Oh, you can see anything. Okay, thanks. Yes. I wanted to tell you something about a project which we have done for the Ministries of Environment and Economic Affairs. For those ministries, we have developed a toolbox which can help cities to map their urban metabolism and seek for opportunities to take steps to a circular economy. So first of all, I will tell you something about the toolbox, then I will show you how it works, and I give you some examples of results and data you can expect. And also I would like to show you some cases which originated from the toolbox and where we currently are working on to put it into practice. This is the main picture of the toolbox. We started about 10 years ago developing the toolbox, which was then focused on biomass waste streams which could be used to generate bioenergy. And in 2010 it was expanded to residual flows which could be used by the bio-based economy. And since the end of 2015 the model has been elaborated for the whole circle economy, and we've worked closely with some universities, and now the 6th generation of students is working on the next version of the toolbox. The main goal of the ministries to want to develop a toolbox is that the circular economy is very hot in the Netherlands, and almost every city or region wants to do something, but they don't know how to start. So what are the largest streams in my region, which are the main economic players I have to deal with, and where lie the opportunities to do projects in reality. So to answer all those questions, we have developed a very practical toolbox which is not made to generate reports, but to generate projects. So it has 3 modules. The first module is about exploring flows and opportunities. What's the potential in my region or in my city? And it's a very large database with millions of data entries. So our main challenge is how to present the data and what data do we want to present. And the next module is about developing business cases. It's based on what you have explored in the first step. Where are the opportunities which can be brought to a new business case or a new business concept? There are all kinds of tools to help you with that. And the last module is about executing those business concepts into practice. So the module consists of all kinds of tools which you can help to generate pilot projects, create living labs, or do something with circular procurement. This is a very complicated slide, but this is about the process we go into when we want to seek for opportunities in a region. And in about 10 days, we can, with this tool, we can go from insights to a program with projects to develop. We have done this in 7 cities and regions so far in the Netherlands, and after the summer the next 10 cities or regions will use the toolbox. So the first step is for a region is what do you want to explore, because there are a lot of things you can go into. Some are more difficult and others are more easy for a municipality or city to take steps into. So if you want to get some action quickly, you should have a more internal focus. So what can you do with your own organization, like circular procurement? How can you make your own facility management circular? You can also look at the city services, like the collection of household waste, or management of public spaces, management of sports facilities. Those are all kinds of areas where the municipality has lots of control, so you can take more easily steps. Also, you can look outside of your own organization. So you look at the metabolism in your city or region. And then we have 3 blocks where we look at. We look at agriculture and nature, so the bio flows. We look at flows from citizens, and we look at flows from industry and other organizations. Well, if you have defined your scope and you know what to seek out, we look into the database and try to give insights into the metabolism of the part you selected. It can also be all parts, but then it will be a more broad study. So we try to focus on 1 or 2 blocks, and we try to go from insight to projects through several work sessions in which all kinds of stakeholders from the city or municipality or region will participate, and we can help them with some tools we have developed and some inspiration we have in database which can be linked at flows we have identified. We have lots of examples of circular products, of concepts, services which you can use. But also we always gather new information from those sessions, and the new information will be put into toolbox in the inspiration database, so it will grow into time. And well, most governments want to have some sort of program, so we have 2 kinds of plans which can go out of this process. One is a plan for the short term, we call that an action plan, and for the long term it's more or less a roadmap which focuses on the long-term transition to the circular economy. Well, most municipalities in the Netherlands want to do something in practice, so we mostly do a combination for short-term projects and a long-term roadmap. If we go some more into the things we are exploring, we are looking at the economy in a region. So what are the most important sectors? what's the specialization of the region. That's also the thing that the first speaker, Leonardo, mentioned. Every region or city has its own identity, and mostly you can see that in the economy in a region. We look at all kinds of flows, material flows in a region. We have thousands of types of products, flows, which we can map. We look at energy in a region, the uses of energy and the energy generation of it. Those are all hard data with key numbers and figures, but also we look at the more softer data in a region, like what are the activities or the circular initiatives which are already there, which you can use to make progress, what are construction projects in the region, what networks you can make use of. So you can also use those to take steps. Like I said, and probably you all know that it's very hard to find data to map the metabolism in a city or region. So the available data is, well, in the Netherlands we have quite some, but it's maybe less than 10% of the data we can use and want to know. So we have to find a solution for that, and we try to gather the missing data in two ways. The first one is that we have an, well, we make use of, or we estimate the data. And how do we do that? We have a database with almost every organization and company which is present in the Netherlands in the toolbox. Those are close to 1 million organizations, and from each organization we know their addresses, we know how many employees they have, we know in what sector their business is, and for each of those we have key figures which we can link to that type of company, and based on that we can make an estimation about what flows go in and what flows go out of that organization. And if you add that all up and you select a certain region, you can see what comes in and what comes out. Also, there's data which is not in databases and which is hard to estimate, which is important for for the metabolism, and we try to collect those data through some interviews with key players. And this is not a finished process. Our database is maybe for 30% full, and with each project we do, we try to make the database more up to date. Well, how does it work? We try to model it based on the input of a certain organization and the output of an organization. This is an example of the brewery of Heineken in the Leiden region. It is in Dutch, but it says how many water goes in, what kind of resources go in, and how much energy goes in, and what other projects which come out. And beneath you can see, because we map it at the address level of an organization, we can use every desired scale level to do the analysis and to present results. Like we can go from individual organization to a national-wide analysis, but most of our work is on the city level or on the region level. Here you can see an example of how the database works. For example, we have a school database and an office database. If you know the address of a school and you know the number of students of a school and you know the average amount of waste per student, you can make an estimate of the waste production of each school. And waste, of course, you can identify several types of waste streams, but for the example I've made it somewhat easy. And linked to the school and the waste, you can also link other flows, you can link the sector, you can link value, emissions. So with the method we use, you can make all kinds of pictures of the data we have in the database. So like I said before, the biggest challenge we have is to well, present the data which is needed and wanted in a way it can be identified and understood. Well, now I'll show you some examples of how we can present the data. This is the data for the national level. On the left you can see the chemical industry in the Netherlands. All the dots are the plants in the Netherlands, and the bigger the dots, the more employees they have. And in the color you can see the production, so the greener the color, the more production is in the region. And on the left, on the right, you can see the paper production in the Netherlands with the dots, the plants and how much they produce, and in the colors the amount of employees which are present in a municipality. This is another example. This is how much residual flows are being produced in the municipality Leiden. We have identified about 10 sectors in which we have added up all the waste streams from agriculture, industry, building sector, nature, households, municipalities, shops, healthcare. And in the pie you can see how much that is, and if you want you can extrapolate that to certain locations which you can see on the map for several types of farms, and the color represents the type of farm. We can also do that with energy production. You can see who are the largest energy consumers in the municipality of Haarlem, and the largest consumer here is the industrial sector with 18%. And on the map you can see where sustainable energy is being generated, also for several sources like solar, wind energy or digesters, and how much energy they are producing. Here you can see the specialization of industry in the region of Leiden. In the figure with the beer you can see how special a certain sector is, and the vertical line is normal for the Netherlands, and then you see two dots which are almost 15 or 25, and that says that that sector is 15 times more present in Leiden than in the rest of on average in the Netherlands, and the beer production is even 25 times more present in Leiden region than in the rest of the Netherlands. So you can see what the identity for this sector for industry is in Leiden, and these are the sectors in which you can maybe make some progress for circular economy. Then I will show you some cases which originated from using of the toolbox. These are some examples of industrial symbiosis of the project we have done in Haarlem. On the picture you can see a business park in Haarlem which has about 1,000 companies there, and you can see here 3 examples of possible symbiosis. We found that there was a beer brewing company. One of the residual flows of a beer brewery are brewing grains, and there's also a bakery present, and they can use the used brewery grains to make bread, and the other way around, the bakery has old bread, and with old bread you can make beer, so there can be a symbiosis between those companies. Another example is Simon Leefeld. That is a coffee roaster company, and part of that process is the production of the residual flow coffee husks that are a sort of fiber, and also in that area is present NPSP, and that is a factory which produces composites, and they can use the fibers from coffee for bio-based composites. Another example is coffee cups. There is a company on this area which makes all kinds of plastics from polystyrene, and if you choose for a plastic coffee cup of polystyrene and you collect it and recycle it, that company can use the coffee cups to make their plastic products, and they needed 10 companies of 1,000 coffee drinking employees to have enough plastic for their yearly production. So that is also an opportunity for an industrial symbiosis in this area. Especially for this case, I'm very enthusiastic about. The city Almere is the newest city in the Netherlands. It only exists for 40 years, and their challenge is to be a city without waste in 2020. And their slogan is from Almere for Almere, so always of Almere. They want to make products out of for Almere, and this is a way to make waste separation for inhabitants very attractive and feasible. The idea is to have some sort of resource bin, and we call that PMD, and that stands for plastics, metals, and drinking cartons, but also added with other dry resources which can go into that bin. We are currently building a sorting plant which can sort out 12 waste streams, and we are also working on factories to make products out of that waste, and one of those products are transporting pallets, but we're also making plastic products for public spaces, so inhabitants of Almere can see the result of their waste separation. And the slogan is then, if you separate your plastic waste, for the next 400 years, your children and their children and their children can make use of the products which you have separated in the form of banks or playing tools or other kind of stuff which can be used in Almere. And now with our toolbox we have identified how much of those products are available right now in Almere and are can be replaced by plastic. We don't want to be Almere made of plastic on the whole, but it shows the potential of what is feasible. And the last slide and the last case I want to present you is a project in the municipality of Reden. They are doing an area development which can be seen on the map, and we've looked in the toolbox what kind of companies are present in Reden which can help develop that area in a circular way and can use their own municipality as a showcase for their new circular products. Now, those companies are the ones you see on the screen, and we are together with those companies, we are trying to develop new circular projects where they can show in the public spaces and hopefully can be used afterwards when there is proof of concept in the whole of the Netherlands. So there you see how information from the toolbox can be put into practice on, well, I hope for you, very interesting ways. So this was my last slide. I hope you found the presentation useful, and if there are any questions, I would like to answer them. So thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much, Paul, for this presentation and also presenting those real-life case studies there from the Netherlands. Sounds very interesting, very engaging, encouraging. I open the floor to everybody to raise a question. Then I would have one. Is all this information about the case study somewhere available on a website, for instance?
Well, most cases are work in process. I don't think it's on the website yet. So a lot like the plastic case in Almere, this afternoon I'm going to the opening of the sorting plant, but that is not all openly available information because the entrepreneurs well, are not there yet to share all the information. But I hope the information on the presentation is sufficient, and maybe if there is, I can send some more information of something if there is a wish to.
Yeah, maybe you can share your contact details in the chat with everyone. And taking a look into the chat, we have two questions there from Caroline Belstedt from the TU Delft. Thanks for your insightful presentation, Paul. I was wondering where you get the data for the addresses. And a second question from Fritz Hinterberger, what data are there for schools? Level of details.
Well, we use several databases. In the Netherlands we have a quite good Bureau of Statistics. We use that, but the addresses we have to buy from like the Chamber of Commerce, and there are some other organizations where you can buy address data and all the. But that's the easy part. If you want to have more detail, you have to mostly go to I don't know if that's the correct English word, like the branchevereniging, an organization which represents a certain sector. They also have some address files, and if there's a question, we look at those sectors and organizations to get to the addresses. And in our own database we have a lot of key figures which we've collected from all kinds of literature to link addresses through key figures to the amount of tons or euros or CO2 emissions. So I hope that's an answer to the questions. And if I look at the schools, in the Netherlands we have address files of all schools, like primary schools, high schools, and universities, and other higher education schools. And we also have a tool which is called Circular Facility Management, and based on amount of students and employees, we can model what will be procured and what kind of waste comes out of that. But those are all estimated numbers. If you want to do it very precise, you have to have the data of all individual schools. With our estimation, mostly we are in the right order of magnitude of amounts. So I hope that also answers the other question.
Fritz Hinterberger just amended on his questions. Also, basically, is talking about in how much detail are the key factors used in calculating the material flows, how many key factors are considered for the material flows. And the second is more about the application. It's about, is the toolbox just for putting together and visualizing the data, or is there also any kind of assessment part of for circularity or even sustainability aspects? And if yes, how would this be done methodologically, Kelly?
Yeah, that is a difficult question. In how much detail are the key factors? Well, like I said, we have over 1 million addresses available in the toolbox, and we have identified over 1,000 different sectors. And for each sector, we have individual key figures for waste or resources or water uses or energy uses. So if you do 1 million times, say, 20 or 30 different key figures, you come into the tens of millions of data entry points. So it's a very complex database, which I cannot elaborate on myself. I have my colleagues for that. And like I said before, our main challenge is to present the data in a way that it is understood by our clients, and that we focus on the right topics. Like we see sometimes that some sectors are good for, say, 80% of all the waste flows in a region, but if there is no control of those waste streams by a municipality or a group of stakeholders in a region, or it has almost no potential for more circular business, well, it is 80%, but it has a low opportunity. And those things we have to do manually right now. Is that an answer to the question? Zijn we gewoon weg?
I think this was a very precise answer already. I think for further detailed level of question, our time is running out for this webinar. So I would encourage you to just exchange email addresses in the chat with those people you want to basically share again. I would like to thank you everybody here for attending this. We had a maximum attendance level here for the system several times. We have had to unfortunately decline one or the other still to join. So that's thanks again for this great interest in UrbanWINS webinar. That was the first one out of a series of webinars that we are doing roughly every 4 to 6 months. The next one will be in autumn. And if you want to follow us, just follow us on Twitter, join the Facebook community there, or just also our newsletter. You will find all this information on the website that you see on the screen now. And I would like to thank you everyone for your contributions, particularly the speaker, but also everybody raising questions and just actively listening to what we have been doing here. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your day. Goodbye.